Another one of the books I read is Elsewhere by Gabrielle Zevin. Um, and this book I would really say is for about ages 14 and up. It's about a girl, a 15-year-old girl named Lizzie, who gets hit by a car while riding her bicycle and dies. Um, she ends up in a place called Elsewhere, a place much like Earth, with one exception. You age backwards. The whole kind of point is that you age backwards until you're an infant, and then you're sent back to Earth as a baby. And it's really all about her struggles to kind of deal with her own death and to kind of fit in or find her place in Elsewhere. I'm sure some of you might be thinking, since this is a book about what happens to you after you die, that there might be some controversy around it or about reading it in a class or recommending it to a student. But the thing is, the book, there really isn't much religion in the book at all. That's not what it's based around whatsoever. And if she really hadn't died, Elsewhere could really be just a place or another world, not even what people might consider as heaven. So I don't see that as being a problem. I think it's a really great story. It's really good. It kind of shows a young girl figuring out where she kind of fits in this world, and learning about life, even though she's dead, and learning about love. And I think that a lot of students could really connect to that because they're going through the same things, figuring out what role that they play, where they fit, and whatnot. So I think even though the main character is dead, I think my students could probably relate to her a lot. While I was reading this, I was really hoping for kind of some dystopian elements to show up because in the beginning, when she gets to Elsewhere, you find out there's a place called the Well, where people from Elsewhere can make contact with people on Earth, but it's forbidden because they don't want you to make contact with people on Earth. So it's like, oh, maybe there's going to be this whole thing about making contact with Earth. Lizzie does, but she soon figures out that it's just better not to. She took care of the business that she had to, and everything seems to be going pretty well in Elsewhere, so there really wasn't any of those elements that I thought might come up when I first read it. One other thing that I really wished there was I wanted so many more details of Elsewhere. The author leaves a lot to your imagination. She gives you bits and pieces about how Elsewhere looks, and she lets you kind of fill in the gaps with the rest of it. But I just really wanted an in-depth detail of this world because I just thought it was so interesting. I mean, it's basically much like Earth, but the weather's really good all the time. They have awesome beaches. They age backwards, which is a little odd, but they have cars and highways and buildings. But it's really interesting because a lot of those things are influenced by people who have already died. People like Shakespeare still write plays and put on plays, and people who used to sing and do music still do that. So that's kind of interesting. I would really recommend this book to my students. It's a fast read, so it would be good for readers who kind of want to feel accomplished when they get through a book. And also, it's relatable, and I think that's one of the best things to be able to find for students. So if you'd like to know more about Elsewhere or Gabrielle Zevin, you can head over to the author and resource section.